it. Now everything's lovely and dry, we can continue adding in some lovely layers and making our areas around the side nice and dark, and just give a little bit of warmth to the side here. Oh, there's a little bit on the strong side. I'll just give that. And the beauty of watercolour as well is that you can reactivate it. So if you go back, you will be left with a bit of a mark, but you can take off paint where you've had it and you can add it back in again. So I'll just spread a little bit of that darkness down here, and we're going to go around the edges down around here as well. And then just as we spread round, we're going to become, just so we don't have a line, you just use the water just to add that off, like that. There we go. So I think we need to make a little bit of a distinction between all the shadows as well. So I'm just going to see if I can just darken the shadows a little bit more. So we're going to just start for the first time adding in a little bit of black as well, just as we approach to the near the end. Give it that nice dark. So this is one of our layers here, so we just want to be careful as we come up under the line. And then we're going to come sweeping round. So here we are, we're just continuing to add in layers of lovely black close to the little house, which you can see is just starting to give a little bit of definition to our picture. I know I said we wouldn't normally use black, but in these areas it gives that increased depth. You can see I'm just doing a little bit of a touch up around the weather vane, and this is the little door into the windmill. There are days when it's open and you can go in. It's a little museum on the inside, and then we're just giving a little bit of curvature to the wall, increasing the darkness at the furthest shadows. If you feel it's just not quite light enough, you can just wet your brush and then draw it off. And I'm sort of just tinkering now, just sort of adding in little bits of colour to the sides of the windmill. And these are the little lighters that illuminate the windmill at night, or if there are various projects going on, they're in different colours for different causes. And now I'm just going to darken the already darker areas of the cloud. Just again, it's just making it, giving it more depth, and you just have to be careful. Just sort of, obviously this is not exact. You're just imagining where the clouds are, and I'm just letting the clouds drift a little bit into the picture. But you're trying to darken and give depth to the clouds, and you can see it starts to bring the picture, in my opinion, alive. It is, I think everybody loves where they live, but I particularly love where I live. And just putting a bit more or darkness and depth into the lighter elements of the picture. As the sun's going down, giving a bit of a focus. And the great thing is, because you've used your waterproof ink, you don't have to worry about going over the top. And now I'm going to just increase the red values. Running down over our little bench. And adding in a little bit at the base of the picture. And as you draw your brush up, it just naturally lightens as the brush reduces the load. And then again, I've just wet my brush there, and I'm just taking a little bit off as I feel it's maybe been a wee bit too much. And then I'm carrying the slightly pink watered brush through the rest of the picture. And again, I'm just adding in a little bit of red value on the other side of the picture. You don't be afraid to turn your picture around, move it around a bit if you feel that you're losing a bit of control, or you want to give the picture a bit of a tweak. So I really are just sort of adding in little bits of colour here and there when I feel that there's not enough. It's just for some reason there was a bit of a gap around the sails of the windmill, so just very gently adding little bits of colour. And really increasing the values now. Just moving it in and moving it around. And then removing it a little bit of it. So you can see that the layers are starting to build over the clouds and starting to make it look more interesting, more 3D, if you like, on a 1D image. And then just filling in the little area which was too bright on its own, so just adding a bit of dark paint to the sides. And you can see there's a little bit of a brown colour there. And because I'm impatient, this is what you shouldn't do. It has bled a little, but again, you can either wet your brush and move it around and across, or you could dab it with a piece of dry tissue. And then I'm just giving a little bit of added value to the area around the people. Now this is using the much finer brush here, and you will need to turn it on your side because you really don't want to go over the edges here at all. As of course you really don't want to spoil your beautiful picture, so you can feel free to turn your picture around and so that you can use your brush in a natural way. I find these little brushes just lovely for adding in little bits of definition, if you like. And I'm just going to put the little bubbles on the end, and of course it has to be dry or it will run this. There we go. And then just turning the picture around and doing the same thing again on each of the sails. Sometimes you have to be careful if you've got, some of the brushes have long fibres on them, and they're a wee bit more difficult to control. This is a harder brush to control, I find, but I quite like it because it holds quite a lot of paint. It also has an unusual handle. It's not round, which I find it's quite easy to grip too, and that helps your control. And again, just putting in the last little finishing touches to that, just darkening it a bit. And the wee bubbly bits on the end, and we'll just keep doing that, going around all the sails until they're all done. So I've just turned the page round again, and then we're going on to the last two sails, and we're nearly done, I think. So we're just adding in more depth. So the whole of Lytham was owned by a family called the Clifton family, and by all intents and purposes the gentleman who was the last Clifton was quite a character, and he gambled most of his money away. He had his own private race course on the it's the only Grade 1 listed building in Lancashire, and that is Lytham Hall, and most of the estates was split up and given to the local people. So we have parks, and we have a wooded walkway, and the windmill, obviously. So here I'm just doing, this is the sail, the wheel that runs the sails of the windmill, and just darkening it with a little bit of your black and dark paint. So of course, because you're seeing it at a funny angle, you're not getting the circular part to it. I'm just increasing again the value and turning it round just to do the very last sail here. I still haven't done the uplighters, but I will be doing them again later when we go over the last final touches. And then another layer, and then we're just adding in little bubbles on the end of the sail. And our lovely romantic couple. Of course, we don't know if it's two men or two women, or a man and a woman in this age of gender fluidity. So I think that is all finished now, and we're ready to go on to the very last part of the class.